This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. I, Vinay Sarmarkar, on behalf of Keli Society's College of BCA RLSI Belagavi, take this opportunity to welcome our guest for today's session, Tandava V. Krishna Popuri sir, Director, Software Engineering, Firmware Group, Dell EMC India. I also welcome all the students for this session. I hope you all will have a great learning. Now I request sir to continue with the session.
Good morning to all of you and a very warm welcome to all of you for this interactive session. I am not going to do a monologue. I am expecting us to have an interactive session. So I want all of you to be attentive and also to respond. Ma'am, can they also use a chat box?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They can use the chat box.
Yeah. They can also unmute and ask questions, ma'am, as and when they
Yes,
want.
yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
They can do that.
Okay, sure. So one biggest thing that happened in March of this year, what is that? Any of you want to take
COVID-19.
COVID? Yeah.
Coronavirus.
So, yes.
COVID-19.
Yeah. So what do you think that has changed in those first couple of months after that has happened? At least from the IT industry or what we are doing. Anything you guys want to type in the chat box? How does it impact us? Other than our safety and stuff, what else it has done? I'm assuming all of you are in your final year or second year. Ma'am, most of the students are from which batch? If you can share.
So they are from the first year as well as the second year. Like mostly they are from the first year, so BCA first year.
Okay. So yeah, one important thing, basically, maybe then I'll start further. What happened because of COVID or the pandemic? A lot of companies which has put these digital transformations for the last 5 years, 10 years, every company was trying to put solutions and systems in place to help and migrate and navigate through the digital transformation. Correct? In the first couple of months, all those things that the companies were not able to accomplish in the last 5 to 10 years have happened in the first couple of months post pandemic, like from March to May. And what happened? The things that the companies has planned for the next 5 years has also already got accelerated, and everybody got into online and converted into all these cloud systems and all. So basically, the digital transformation, what the businesses were expected to do for the next 5 years, also happened in this period. What does this mean to all of us? If we are somewhere related to IT, computer science, or any of these branches, there are a lot of opportunities that are popping up. As we speak, there are not enough opportunities because every company and business is trying to figure out through this process. But as we see from next year onwards, by the time some of you come out, there are lots and lots of jobs that are popping up. And it's on us if we can leverage all these technologies that I'm going to talk in the next half an hour to 45 minutes. If we can leverage based on our interests and liking or passion, we can leverage some of these technologies. What we are going to talk might help you to be ready when you come out of the campus to get a excellent job, or maybe you can start up your own companies like a startup ideas. Okay, with that, when all these companies migrated and got into digital transformation, what's the first concern? All these businesses which have never got into online, or the businesses which are already online and trying to do a lot of stuff, leveraging this digital transformation, what would be their first concern according to any of you? What would be their first concern? Okay, their first concern is, yeah, go ahead.
Networking, sir.
Oh no, that's definitely all the systems need networking, but the biggest concern for all of them is to how do I protect my data, the security. So all the companies, okay, the businesses that were running offline, they were not that much worried about the security of the data, the customer data and the transactions. Now, when I'm trying to send some stuff, if somebody spoofs that data or somebody manipulate that data and get me an outcome that's not desired, definitely it can lead into undesired results, correct? So a lot of companies who are also migrating are trying to go and strengthen the security aspects of their solutions and their businesses. So by the time you guys come out of the campuses, there are lakhs of jobs in this domain of security. Okay, if you are interested to break a system, if you are interested to make a system harden and try to ensure that nobody can break in into those systems, there are lots and lots of jobs of how do you harden end to end, how do you ensure that the data is not getting compromised, how do you protect the data, even when you design code, how do you ensure that somebody doesn't inject those SQL queries as part of those parameters and not break things. So if you get excited with these security type of aspects, there are going to be a lot of jobs by the time you guys come out of your campus. And I know there are a lot of startups also getting started in this ecosystem, mainly focusing on the security aspects, how to protect the data. If you are aware of industry 4.0, data is the primary thing. Maybe when we go to industry 5.0, more than the data, they're trying to get to the sentiments and all that stuff. But as we speak, data is still the primary stuff, and everybody wants to protect. The government wants to protect the data of the citizens. The companies want to protect the data of their customers as well as their valuable IP and all the assets. So there are a lot of jobs in this space. And if you get excited with all this blockchain also provides security as well as a lot more containerization. So if you are also interested in that space, that's another area. Okay, why am I introducing all these concepts for all these domains or these growth opportunities while you're in your first year? Basically, while you also learn those fundamentals and the basics while you're in the campus, it will also help you to identify a problem in this area that's of your interest. It can be security, it can be artificial intelligence, it can be containers, it can be XYZ. But if you identify and start reading and preparing and get the domain expertise, it will help you to be ready by the time you come out of your final year. And if you can also identify the problem you would like to solve as part of your final year project right now while you're in your first year, and start collecting the data, start adding the expertise, who knows, by the time you come to your final year, maybe you can start your own startup with that idea, the problem that you're trying to solve as part of your project. So hence, I would urge all of us to go and spend some time and attention to understand, though I understand that we are in the first year, but if you understand these domains at your free time, you should also go and start learning about some of these so that you can add the subject matter expertise or some understanding of those subjects by the time you get into your final year. Okay, so security, containers, we talked. What is the next biggest thing that's happening? Yeah, somebody was talking about networking, correct? Yeah, while all of us are trying to ensure that data is secure, uh, how does all this digital transformation works? Yeah, we are trying to get businesses online, and customers from any part, anywhere can also go and log in. Yeah, I also saw Harish and Basanagaud has said work from home. So when all this, okay, what happened? One is the COVID pandemic. When the digital transformation happened, all of us who are working remote or in the premises or in the building all got work from home. All of you who are studying in the campus all got to an online portal, online education, correct? So what does this mean? A lot of companies have transformed the way they are doing their businesses or the way they are delivering their services. All the colleges in the country have overnight, all the schools in the country have overnight got into online platforms, which wasn't the case. So we were for many years. But all this help companies to go and improve the digital. Additional aspect that everybody is focusing as we speak across the world, not only in India, is the globalization, like the 5G stuff. Uh, all the speed, the data, as and when we add more and more systems, more and more businesses onto the network, the data consumption or the data transmission, yeah, and is also getting important. So there are a lot more jobs. By the time you come out of your campus, there are lots of jobs that are going to pop up in 5G domain. And if you like those networking type of jobs, yes, this is the time for you to start understanding the concepts, the basics. Now, even in the networking as we speak, there are a lot of jobs in the security aspect of the networking and the other remaining parts of the technology. By the way, when we are talked on, this pandemic has created us to work from home, study from home. So with all this, what did it do? uh, it has removed the dependency of us to be physically present at a place, correct? What does this mean? By the time you come out of the campus, earlier, if you have to come and get employed, it, you have to move to cities like Bangalore or Pune or Mumbai or XYZ, correct? If you have to come and work in Dell, my response would have been pre-COVID, hey, yes, we are more than happy to give you a job, but you need to work from Bangalore. Now this COVID with all this online stuff, all those boundaries have been blurred. Now our employees work from wherever they are, either they're part of their hometown or some holiday vacation spot or from their homes in Bangalore, they all start contributing. So what does this mean? It provides you a lot of opportunities sitting in Belgavi. If you don't want to move to any other part of India or Karnataka, you can still go on the aspire to get your dream jobs without trying to sacrifice of your hometown or the place where you are. What does this mean? Not only within India, it also opens up a lot of spaces or a lot of jobs any part of the world. Now companies are open to go and reach out to the talent who has the skills and the desired skills that the companies need. Even if they are any part of the world, companies are open to go and hire them. Gone are the days where companies were trying to limit to a particular geography or location. Yeah, probably the companies still need to figure out those visa restrictions and the local tax laws and how do they offer those salaries and stuff in the local currency. But beyond that, they don't have any real restrictions of making people work any part of the world. By the way, that also brings an interesting concept and interesting area where companies are trying to put a lot more effort, and a lot of jobs are going to pop up in this particular space called collaboration tools. All of us are trying to communicate today leveraging this GoToMeeting. A lot of companies are leveraging Zoom, all those different tools that are there. Okay, the more we provide and the more we enhance these tools to provide the real-time experience or the real-life experience is where all these tools are trying to go. If you have a innovative idea to make it more get the real feel of the person and all that stuff, probably that's going to make a big startup in the next couple of years. By the way, when companies are trying to make these collaboration tools a lot more global, they're also looking at, if I'm trying to communicate, okay, one of the biggest barrier if you have to work for a company in China or in Russia is the language, correct? India has an advantage of speaking in English compared to most parts of the world. But if you have to work with some of these customers or the companies in Europe or in Russia or in China, language becomes the barrier. So a lot of these collaboration tools are putting a lot of effort and research is happening as we speak on natural language processing, NLP, what we call. And companies like Google, companies like Microsoft is investing a lot of money for the last couple of years, basically trying to translate what I speak in my local language in the real time to the other person's choice of language. It can be their mother tongue, it can be any other language that they speak. If my mother tongue is Kannada and if I am trying to communicate to the other person whose mother tongue is in Chinese, in the real time when I try to communicate, it gets translated into the Chinese language or into the Russian language, such that there is a lot of focus and efforts leveraging this artificial intelligence machine learning to go and convert those in real time and provide and remove these barriers. If you are passionate about this and if you really enjoy these languages and those translation, there are a lot of jobs that are popping up as we speak. Currently all these companies go and do this something called localization globalization. So basically if I have all my products in English, if I have to sell in different parts of the country, maybe I will go and translate them into all these local languages. Like that, there are all these local languages in different parts of the world, and the companies are expected to go and do. But with this collaboration tools trying to translate things in real time, probably that entire business landscape is going to change. And if you really enjoy that type of work, probably there are a lot of jobs that are coming in that space. If you go to any of these NASSCOM and stuff, you will see the industry has definitely a lot of needs as we speak. I saw one comment, so many people's work is gone. But how is Tandava explaining that, as Pramod mentioned, that many people's work is gone, but Tandava is saying lots and lots of jobs are getting created. I'll also explain that concept, what's happening there. So a couple of things that happened when pandemic has impacted all these companies, revenues have reduced, and everybody tried to see how do they ensure that with their limited revenues, how do they ensure that they can sustain the business. Couple of things that everybody tried to focus, all the companies. One, if there are any redundant stuff or non-value add stuff that their employees are doing, they're trying to automate those, try to improve the efficiencies. And they also try to adopt some of this technology which can augment and reduce the workforce so that they can save the money. So jobs are getting cut as we speak. So some of your seniors who are coming out of campus, yes, definitely they're in a tough situation, but it's going to change in the next couple of quarters, right? Even though each company is trying to reduce, but the number of companies that are getting online has also dramatically increased. A lot of companies that got online in the first 2 months from March to May are exorbitant, and all of them needs this workforce who can help them with this IT, trying to get their systems up and running, trying to ensure that their systems are serving to the needs of their customer, trying to ensure that they're secure. So even though in each company the jobs are reducing, but the number of companies opening up those jobs are also increasing, and the number has been multifold. So my dear friends, if you can go and try to pick some of these areas that's of your area of interest, probably by the time you come out of the campus, there are lots and lots of jobs. Based on the recent NASSCOM study, right now the gap between what the industry needs and what the skilled workforce that are available is at least a 5-time gap. Whatever industry needs versus what's available, it's only 20% of the industry needs are getting served. There are a lot of jobs that are going unfilled because we don't have the access to the skilled talent. Hence, it's an opportunity for all of us who are in the campus to also add those domain skills of your area or passion so that you can be ready when the industry opens up the jobs. According to NASSCOM, I think some of this gap is going to increase to 24 times in the next 5 to 10 years. So I encourage all of us to go and put, maybe after this session or maybe after this whole series is over, pen down what are that 1 or 2 areas that you want to specialize, which is of area of your interest. Don't go after where there are jobs, don't go after which can give me more money. Go after the areas that are interest to you, which when you try to read excites you, or which you can passionately connect to. Okay, that's one request to all of you. Okay, coming back to this technology that we were talking about, globalization stuff. even in those technology, every company is trying to, as we speak, is trying to improve the efficiency by automating stuff. What are those technology that's getting leveraged? Yeah, you take off Python language, you take off a lot of these languages that are coming, which are getting used there. One important concept that's called robotic process automation, RPA. Please note down that if you're interested in some of these. There are lots and lots of jobs available as we speak for the folks who are specialized in robotic process automation. And where does all these things getting used? If you have seen some of these companies, we used to have this customer support. A lot of companies are trying to convert that customer support. Basically, what do we call a company when we need some support, correct? Either a bank or a company. You go and complain with your problem. There are steps A, B, C, and these are all called frequently asked questions. If your problem is this, hey, can you do this to resolve? If your problem is this, can you do this to resolve? So all this technology where we can leverage, where there is no value add, but it's all repetitive, mundane tasks getting executed multiple times. Even this pandemic, a lot of companies went and converted their support systems into this chatbots. So basically, there are more and more jobs that are coming up in this space of chatbots, robotic process automation. If you get excited of converting and making some repeated non-value add tasks into automated stuff and execute much more efficiently, probably that's an area that I will encourage you to go and spend some time. And the other one, all the businesses are trying to leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning. Maybe I'll take a stop here. Any day-to-day AML stuff that we all use, anybody would like to share on the chat? Where do we use? Do we use all these products that are powered by artificial intelligence, machine learning in our day-to-day? No. How many of you use Google Map? If you're in Bengaluru, yeah, mobile phones camera, but they may not use the artificial intelligence machine learning. But if you, in the same mobile phone, if you use a Google Map, or if you use some of these Amazon apps, online shopping, they all use this artificial intelligence machine learning. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah,
and
go
even
ahead.
the automotive like automotive companies use artificial intelligence to identify the database of the algorithm.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks. Basically, in the day-to-day stuff, yeah, automotive is also one area. There is a lot of jobs. Yeah, I'll come there. In the day-to-day stuff, now I don't know if you use Alexa or Siri or this Google Assistant or the Google Maps. All of them are using these artificial intelligence and machine learning. Basically, someone was saying that wherever we are getting all this technology free, you are the person, the data. They're trying to get all your data free, and hence they're giving the product free. If you see all our Android or Facebook, they're trying to use us as the data, like as an object. They're trying to get a lot more information about us. If you go to an Android phone, as we talked about that smart mobile phone, it keeps track of what all places you're going, what time you went, what time you came. You don't need this attendance in future. If some of you are interested in this, you can build, you can tap into that Android API and get this data, location data with the time. Your colleges doesn't need an attendance sheet. They can exactly tell from what period to what time you're sitting in which room of the college. Or if you're working for a company, they don't need you to go and log in, log out, timeout. Correct? If you are using your mobile phones, they can easily tell you exactly what time you came, what time you stepped out for your lunch, what time you stepped out for your tea break, all that stuff. So this technology is there, and they're trying to collect every data of you. When they collect all this data of all these people, do you think they're just collecting it for fun? No, they're applying all that data. They're applying those data into a machine learning algorithms and trying to understand more about us. I'll just take an Amazon example, or I take an example of Google. Android stuff. They're trying to know what time I'm going to what place, what's my typical day, how many, typically what time I leave, what time I come, what are my preferences, what are my hobbies, what are my habits, how do I spend. Even if you go back to your Facebook is tracking every moment of you when you come online, and it's selling it to the businesses. Businesses are also coming back and putting the data back to Facebook. Hey, this person logged on my application and these are the activities this person did. So if you don't believe me, you go to the Facebook settings and go to this. There is one option called, I think, businesses. If you go and see, they're giving your data and they're also sharing. You'll be surprised to see you logged on Netflix, you logged on Prime Video, this is the time and all that stuff. They have all tracks of all the things about you. So why are these businesses trying to collect all this? Basically, that you're the data, you're the model they're trying to build. If I have to say Tandava as a data model, what does Tandava's preference? Where does Tandava spend money? What is Tandava's interest? How do I go and get the desired outcome with the limited options? If Tandava is trying to think of buying something, if you have, I don't know if, how many of you observed this, if you are on Amazon or Flipkart or some of these places, when you log in and you try to look at some product and you don't even complete the purchase and you come out of that, every time you go and log in back, or even if you don't log in there, the data, the details about this product or similar products will pop up in all the screens wherever you're in any browser and stuff, correct? All this is possible because they're tracking your needs and stuff through this artificial intelligence machine learning, and then trying to serve your needs, or basically more than serving your needs, they're trying to influence your behaviors to their desired outcome. If you're trying to look at some particular product and they have a cheaper product, alternate product which can serve, and they somehow want you to buy that, so that's how they're trying to influence your sentiments, your moods, as well as your purchasing decisions. So that's where I'm just picking one e-commerce example. So that's what I was saying. Similarly, there are a lot of places this data is getting leveraged and trying to utilize. I don't know how many of you have followed this challenge that India is facing on the northern border with our neighbor China. Recently, we all read about this. China is closely tracking about all the details of leveraging artificial intelligence, machine learning stuff of all our top leaders, including the opposition leaders, the business tycoons, and the famous personalities in India, to understand what they think, how they behave, so that they want to influence in this water warfare you call, because the next sort of wars will not be fought on the battleground, but it will be mostly on the online stuff. So they're trying to understand these leaders and their thought processes to go and get the desired results what they want, such that they can respond accordingly, such that they can get the desired results. So my dear friends, there is a lot of research and activity happening in this space, and I encourage you, if you have a lot of interest in mathematics, you like building mathematical models, probably this is the area where you should look at. There are a lot of lakhs of jobs in data science, data scientists, and if you get fascinated with this artificial intelligence, like trying to build these machine learning models and stuff, yeah, this is the area. There is money as well as a lot of business needs that we see as we speak. Okay. One important aspect in this, okay, somebody was talking about vehicles and stuff. Yeah, a new segment that's getting popped up, probably it will change how the transport industry behaves, might completely get revamped, is this autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles are the self-driving cars and all. If you think of in a simple term, what does these autonomous vehicles are? Anybody wants to take a stab at it? You know, these vehicles doesn't, most of them doesn't use this petrol, diesel. They're powered on electric stuff, electricity. So what are these vehicles? These are moving vehicles that have a powerful computer in it, which has a lot of these IoT devices called all the sensors, either the cameras, either all these sensors, which can measure the speed, which can measure the distance, which can measure all sorts of stuff, are fixed on a moving vehicle powered by electricity. It's basically a supercomputer on a car trying to figure out how far the other vehicle and the routes and everything integrated, so that it's basically a powerful computer executing these powerful AI/ML algorithms. Basically, real time you get the data, you try to put it into a data lake. Like companies like Tesla takes each customer is a model for them, and the customer tries to pump all the data they collect in their vehicle when they're going, and they put it into the data lake. Then they go and refine those and get the accuracies to almost 99 point some percent, and then try to feed that data back so that in real time the cars can steer themselves. But what happens if I don't have access to the uh, network? Probably I might get into an accident, correct? So that's the reason they have a powerful computer on the vehicle itself. While they try to process data in the data lake, they also bring back some models that they built in the data lake to get process that data locally in real time. My dear friends, there are a lot more industry efforts are happening in getting the data processing locally without going into the data lakes. TinyML is another things that are happening where a lot of companies are trying to put a lot of jobs. Basically, when I get all this data, I want to process it locally with that processing power I have, rather than going into a big data lake. And that's another area lots and lots of jobs are coming. Okay, sorry, I saw a question from Srishail. Basically, hey, sir, we have very strong security to our devices, then why are hackers still present? The more we improve our security, the more the hackers take it as a challenge, they try to break it. Yeah, probably there will be a time where our systems and security is so foolproof that nobody else can break it. Right now, there are some systems that are pretty secure, like if you have to sell any of our servers to the US federal government, they have a lot of compliance or regulations that we need to follow, including where they disable all interfaces across in their products that they use, except they keep one interface through which they will try to give all command. Yeah, but in the normal day-to-day commercial use, we may not be spending a lot of money and effort to make it secure. As we move forward, we see lots and lots of effort that's going to happen in this space, because all the companies that are worried who got this digital transformation is one biggest aspect for them is security. Okay, any other questions before I go further? Okay, I got some question on startup stuff. I also got some question on, sir, can you explain how it's work in Google? Can you elaborate, Basan Gaur? Like when you're asking about Google, you're talking about the Google search engine, or you're talking about something else? If you want to understand what the Google search engine does, if you think of all the data that Google has in its data forms, they leverage a lot of this big data analytics, but they also put all their data on cloud. If you think of the data we get, anything we search in Google, the time it takes to respond is in less than seconds, correct? If I try to execute the same search engine on a normal server, a powerful server locally, it takes hours, or in some cases it takes days, if I have to process that search and to come back with the needed results. But none of us have patience to go and do. So Google implements this technology called big data analytics. They split that query into the different data forms, and they try to concurrently process, and then they try to collate all the data, and you get the result in less than seconds. I don't know if the question is on Google search engine or on the Google Maps. I'm not able to figure out, but Google, if you're thinking on these Android phones which come for free, nothing is free. you are the person whom they're trying to understand. So when Google enabled all of us with this no charge Android phone, basically Google doesn't charge Android, they give it for free. But what in return Google gets is all our data, what time I go, what time I come, what all the different places. Even in crime scenarios, government is trying to, or the police is trying to leverage going back to the phone data to see what time you present at what place, and then they're trying to rebuild these crime scenarios. Okay, there was some question on the startup stuff. Just give me a couple of minutes before I come there. Yeah, because once I go there, I may not come back and explain the different technologies. Dilip, just give me some more time. If I don't answer, maybe you can remind me that. So, how Google makes money by collecting our data? Man, that means you're not understanding. So okay, what's the powerful thing in this industry 4.0? Whoever has the information about all the customer, clients, citizens can make a lot of decisions. Just because somebody has access to the data of the voters, the governments that are getting formed are getting changed. Basically, somebody is using this data to analyze the voters' behavior, and then they are doing certain actions to go and fine tune and to influence the voters from what they originally intend to change the desired outcome. So it's not only for the companies, even all these political parties are using this data. Coming back to Google, how Google makes money. Google has, okay, if you see 80% of the phones are using Android and they get all the data, and Google is not charging us, but Google gives this data to the companies and they charge money. Facebook does that, Google does that. So they give this data to the businesses and the businesses pay for accessing this. I don't know how much they pay, all that I don't have those details, but that's how Google earns. And Google and Facebook, how are they top in the top companies in the world based on their revenue? And how do they generate revenue? They generate revenue by selling our data. When we go and log in into any of these things, we give access or approval saying that, yeah, you can give my data to anybody, or they have right to go and play. Facebook and some of these companies are now trying to give back that control, basically with some of the lawsuits in US and all, where we can go and change some what they can go and give about us, what they cannot. But I know a lot of us won't go and pay attention, so that's how the companies are making money. Yeah. Sorry, Rajeshwari, I couldn't get your question. Maybe can you repeat your question? So data is everything, an important thing, how all companies work. Not every company is leveraging the data as the main stuff, but all these top 10 companies in the world, at least majority of them are leveraging this. Maybe this is the time I will also answer Dilip's question. Dilip Singh Shekhawat has asked, what are those ideas that I can give for startups? If you see all these top companies in different domains are basically created a marketplace. Okay, what is that marketplace? Yeah, go ahead, somebody is asking. Okay, so Dilip, if you see Facebook is a marketplace for what? For people to make friends, correct? I share about all the things, my hobbies, my interests, what all stuff, and then maybe others will try to see. So it's a marketplace that they created where people will come and share about their stuff. If I talk about LinkedIn, any of you heard of that? It's basically once you become professionals, you try to log in about your data into LinkedIn to go and get jobs or to give jobs to others. And that's the marketplace for professionals. If I want to get hired, if I want to hire somebody, or if I want to recommend somebody, or if I want to promote my business, all of them will go and log on to LinkedIn. Amazon is a marketplace for what? Any idea?
Shopping.
Sorry, yeah, but shopping what?
Shopping.
So Amazon, okay, marketplace is what? Any of you want to define what is a marketplace? Okay, marketplace. Sorry, can you repeat? So marketplace is something where the sellers are interested to get that service, where the buyers are trying to give that service, correct? Amazon is a marketplace for where all the businesses who have the products wants to sell it. It's not the direct companies which are trying to sell. The resellers, the businessmen who try to go and put those, and they offer different stuff, and the buyers like us or the consumers will log on, and then we go and choose from for the same product, I have like 10 options. ABCD company, XYZ company, Alpha Beta company. All these companies are there trying to sell the same. I go and see whether they're providing a quality service, whether how the ratings, all that stuff. Then I go and try to decide. So Amazon is a marketplace for all these sellers and buyers of businesses. Businesses are coming to sell their stuff, and buyers like us going there. Okay, I take a similar marketplace for all the folks who offer uh, hotel or rooms for Airbnb. Correct? Airbnb is a marketplace for folks who wants to go and stay for vacation or for other reasons, to go and find places which are offering places where to stay, and people who are interested to go and figure out the places to stay. So if you talk about all these top companies, the same on Uber. Uber does not own a single car, but it's one of those rental companies or to hire companies, correct? Where people can go and book a car. It's not only in India, any part of the world. If you go, if you want to book a car, the person who is offering the car service will be on Uber, and then whoever has a need will log in and try to get that service. Like that, there are all these top companies have created a marketplace for something. And if you see some of these online portals on education, now they're also creating marketplace where the teachers will come and provide their service of sharing their knowledge, and the students who are interested to go and get that knowledge are coming to that platform to see, okay, which is the right teacher and all. Similarly, Practo, I don't know Practo get used in Belgavi or not, but in Bangalore, a lot of folks go and use. That's the marketplace for doctors. So as a patient, I don't know who is the best doctor, who has what rating. So I don't go, gone are the days where I'll go and ask a friend or a relative or somebody to tell me. I go into Practo and see their ratings, and then I go and choose which doctor to go. Correct? That's one aspect. So if you see, all these companies which are doing pretty well in this space are created market spaces. So I don't want Dilip, you to create a marketplace for the place where it's already crowded, but find out a marketplace that nobody else is trying to serve. Okay, it can be, I know Urban Club tried to create a marketplace for all these unorganized sector to provide them a platform so that people who want like that. I know in Bangalore there is a startup which created a marketplace for all these water tankers. It may not be a thing that might be applicable for Belgavi, but in Bangalore there is a lot of water shortage. So a person created a marketplace for all these water tankers to be there, and all these apartments which need this water, or all those individuals which need these water tankers, will log into that. They have automated the system such a way that if the water in my water tank is come to a certain level, it triggers a mail, and it gets into this marketplace, and whichever is the water tank that's nearest will get notified. They'll come back and they'll fill the water, and then they'll get charged. So what I'm saying is, yeah, definitely figure out an idea in the space that nobody else is there. Probably you might get into the top with one of those. Other things, I know I have seen mobile and camera and all. If we all think government has created this lot of effort in this particular sector called medical stuff, because a lot of parts, rural parts in India still does not have access to a good doctor. But if you think, my dear friend, if you have a powerful smartphone and you have these Fitbits, like basically all these Fitbits are nothing but an IoT device which tries to monitor your vital parameters. Why do I call all of them IoT device? IoT device, Internet of Things devices, are nothing but a sensor that's attached which emits data over a network, and you collect that and you can process that and make some meaning. If I connect a Fitbit type of device which monitors my heartbeat and stuff, maybe I'll add some more parameters. It can monitor my, what do you call, other parameters like my BP, heart rate, and a lot of stuff. And if I connect that with a cell phone, probably if I'm in a rural part of India, I don't need these doctors to be there. Probably I can communicate that data, and the famous doctors in cities can still go and look at and address them, or give them the medication. By the way, all this is the research, and government of India has put a lot of money in the last 5 years But in this first couple of months of pandemic, a lot of those solutions got leveraged. None of us are willing to go to a hospital to get treated, and the doctors were also not willing to take risks. So everybody got into online platforms, and the doctors were able to do telemedicine, where the patient can talk to over a video call and try to provide. Probably that's another area. Maybe somebody can come a little more innovative, leverage this existing stuff and add a little more value adds, and probably that's another space that can also boom. Maybe a startup idea that you can look into, Dilip. And coming back to this technology, even in these areas that we talked about, if you think of a solution for a problem that nobody else has thought, you can patent that idea before even you start your startup. Patents are nothing like out of the world stuff. When I have 3 patents, a lot of them are basically an incremental or a different way of doing that problem, solving that problem in a unique way that's not obvious to others, but it can provide you some business value, and hence you want to patent so that nobody else can leverage the same way of solving that, and you can have some unique advantage. So probably once you think through some of these areas that you think of your area of interest and you find a problem, finding a problem is half of that solution for the startup idea. If you find the right problem where there is a lot of money and people are willing to go and pay for the person who solves it. I come from this server domain. I work for a company called Dell. Basically, in the server industry, every time we do an update, we ask for a reboot so that the update comes back for the customer to leverage. What happens, anybody who can find these updates without any reboot can win a lot of money in that market. So I'm just picking, these are the problems that are there, and anybody who can solve that can go and take away a lot of money. Similarly, there are a lot of areas like this. By the way, one technology that we couldn't touch upon is the drones. Drones is not yet permitted in India for commercial use, but my dear friends, by the time you might come out of your campus, maybe a lot of those things will also get commercialized. And if you think of these autonomous vehicles plus the drone, these are all powerful technology that's lying there. If we put them used for the right way, maybe we'll get a lot more bright products and bright ideas that can change how the world thinks. I'll just touch upon on the autonomous server, autonomous vehicles that we talked in the beginning, in the middle of stuff. I know all of us will say, so when these autonomous vehicles come to India, it doesn't work because obviously people come all sorts of directions and we don't follow rules. Even if it takes a couple of more years before these cars come onto the roads where people can use, but I can leverage the same technology and apply onto the tractors, and I get these self-driving tractors which can plow the field. When if I have an autonomous tractor where I can configure it in the night, and probably by the time I come back to the field in the morning, maybe it can plow that entire field for me, and then nothing stops for the technology to work, because in the agriculture, farmland or fields, you don't have any obstacles, correct? The technology, the self-driving technology that you apply there, Mahindra has done that. So what I'm saying is you can leverage some of these technology that lies somewhere and you adapt it to a new problem or to a new area. You can go and get those things. I think Sri Sail is saying, what is your success formula behind your job? I don't think I'm successful, but I can share a few things that work for me. Definitely, when I was in campus, I studied from BITS Pilani. I'm like one of you sitting on the other side. And every day I used to clear my exam. For those days, on each day, one company used to come for the campus. Those were not the days where many companies used to come to the campus. So I used to clear the exam. I used to go for the interview and I used to fail in the interview. It happened for 5 days. And my friends were also troubling me, saying that, hey, you're clearing the exam, but you're not clearing the interview. So you're not getting selected, but you're also not allowing, because whichever exam I write, they're not getting shortlisted because I get shortlisted. My technical knowledge is pretty good those days, but I'm not good at communication. So probably after I got my first job, because of the technical knowledge, then I improved upon communication. But because somebody is asking, I'm not successful, but I want you to be successful when you come out of the campus. Hence, Uh, Also investing equal amount of time on your soft skills, on your communication is very important. Communication is not about communicating nicely in a nice English vocabulary. No. Communication, my dear friends, is about whatever you have here in your mind. How do you put it across to the other person that he can exactly understand what's there in your mind? Okay. And that if you can do while also working with a team is what the companies look for. So basically, collaboration or teamwork is very important. And you might say, sir, how do I demonstrate these when I come out of the campus to the companies that, yeah, I can communicate well, have a lot of confidence, and I'm also team player. If a company comes to your campus for offering you a job, they'll hardly get half an hour to talk to you. How do you demonstrate this? Correct? I encourage you to go and participate in either the team sports, that all the sports where the team games, probably that's one area, because that's what companies try to figure out. All of us are almost similar in our knowledge because all of us come to the same campus, same place, plus or minus here and there, all of us are on very similar grounds, correct? How do I differentiate? Probably I take part in those extracurricular activities, or I organize these seminars or hackathons and stuff like that. That shows your initiative skills. Yeah, you can take a lot of initiation and you can drive things, and it also demonstrates that you have the ability to work with people. I don't know if any of you conducted any of these seminars or hackathons or culture fairs or tech fairs, all that stuff. Those demonstrate your leadership skills and your ability to work with people and your teaming skills. So with that, I will encourage you to put some additional effort there. Why? Because most of you are in your first year. By the time you come out, I want you to leverage those opportunities while you're in the campus to build those value add to yourself, such that you come as a strong professional, not only technically, but also on the soft skills, your communication, your confidence. You should be having the right attitude. For any problem, obviously, while we're in the campus, we're expected to learn how to solve a problem, understanding the fundamentals. Technology today may not be the same as for the next 10 years. When we studied the technology today is not the same what we studied, correct? Technology advances in every 5 years at least, and it drastically changes in the next 10-15 years, correct? So what do we expect while you are at the campus is to understand the fundamentals, learn those, and then apply back, and then you can come back and do wonders. When you understand the concept, you learn one technology. When technology changes, this concept doesn't change, and you apply it multiple places. Somebody, yeah, Baswangod is still asking, how do app creators make money? Yeah, if you think of an app creator, okay, I talked about if I create these apps on the phone, leveraging the phone plus those Fitbits can create a remote hospitals for rural people or where they don't have access to doctor. Similarly, if you think of this, these phones are nothing but a software defined something. I know a lot of you might read when you go back into the industry to see everything is getting software defined. If I see this phone is the first software defined, basically the hardware is there. Based on what app I load, I can convert this into a camera device, I can convert this into a mapping device, or I can convert this into something else based on the app application that I put. So this is nothing but in the IT world, we call all these in data center stuff, have the hardware and you add the software to get that functionality. It can be a storage device based on the application that you add on it, or it can be a networking device based on the software stack that you provide, or it can be something else. So it all that value add that's happening in the industry is basically based on the software functionality that you add onto the device. So how to build communication skills? Yeah, start working in a team, and when you all work in your final year project, most of you will be working in a team. Why the teams were created is basically all of us have a tendency to go when we go for interviews to say, hey, everything I have done, I have 3 people in this team of the project, in this project team, but everything I have done, all those 2 are waste. No, in reality, that won't be the case, correct? You have done some portions, the others have done some portions. be open and honest and share what you have done, what others have done. And also when you work in a small team, you know how to communicate, you know how to put your ideas across, and you try to get them. So that's how you go and build those. The more you go and get into any of those events I talked about, conduct a college fest, conduct a tech fest, conduct, all these will show your ability to communicate. Nothing comes easily. You need to communicate and share your ideas in a team, and all others should understand what you're sharing, and then that's how it gets translated into reality. If you're not able to communicate, it won't come across, correct? So some of these examples through in the real-time scenarios you can create, and you can come back and talk. Okay, Srishal is asking, sir, the technology doesn't remain same. Yeah, agreed. Right now, all the technologies I talked, AML is there for the last 50 years, but it got commercialized in the last 5 to 10 years. And that's going to be there for the next 15, 20 years for sure. How much value add or how much new things that get leveraged into that, I don't know, but the basic concepts will remain same in AML. Same thing with cloud. We didn't talk about cloud. Like when companies have migrated from off-prem to on-prem, basically they have their own data centers where people are physically going into their offices and all. Now everybody wants their workforce to remote, at least for next couple of quarters. So everybody is trying to move into cloud. Cloud is going to be there, where nobody wants to have that particular hardware and software in their premises. They want to give it to this cloud where I can access my data from any part of the world or from anywhere. So those are the technologies that are going to be there. If you see the networking, all this communication, all this 5G, those technology will move farther, and or basically the new updates will come, but those basic needs are not going to change. So, and if you go to finance markets, or if you go to a lot of these places, there are a lot of these technology that's there, and the faster you get the data, the more you can predict, and the more accurate you can come to your prediction. There are a lot more jobs and a lot more money there. With that, I know I was given 1 hour time, so I don't want to go a lot more. So probably with this, maybe I was able to give you some concept of what's happening in the industry. My dear friends, I encourage all of you to go and leverage the area of your interest, and then try to start working on that. Probably one last piece of advice. All of you might say, sir, we are interested to go and work on this, but companies doesn't give us internship. Companies doesn't give us opportunities to work while we are studying. Yeah, definitely. But one secret I can share with you is companies may not provide, but go to opensource.org. Whatever you're interested to work in, there are a lot of projects that are there in opensource.org. I will encourage all of you to go and log into opensource.org and figure out the area of your interest, and maybe you can underline that, and then you can start watching what are the different things that the companies are doing, and the folks from the industry are trying to put the code there. Probably you can start following that. Probably when you come to your final year, if you don't have your other ideas, maybe you can pick a project in that space and you start contributing it back. If you start contributing it back, because there are these open source communities, people will come and help you to write, refine your code, all that stuff they review. And if you submit a couple of patches, probably companies will come after you. You don't have to go back there. Okay. With that, I would like to stop here, and I will congratulate you for all of you to joining this course at the right time, because by the time you come out of the campus, there are a lot more opportunities that are going to be there. It's up to you whether you want to add those skills and be ready for those opportunities that are waiting for you when you come out of your final year. With that, I'll stop. Sorry, I'm not able to follow all those questions. Maybe anything, ma'am, you would like to repeat that I didn't answer?
Yes, sir.
I don't know, ma'am. I know I was told it's 1 hour. I can stay for another 10 minutes if there are questions.
Okay, sir. So they're asking what they have to pursue after BCA, like MCA, or they have to go for specialization.
MCA is desirable. Otherwise, you can also pick the areas. Okay. all these BCA,
Hello, sir.
yeah, after BCA, for the first job, definitely you having an MCA might be helpful, or a specialization in a particular domain is also helpful. After you get into the job, nobody will go and look at
Hello, sir.
what. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So they're asking whether they have to.
Yes, please. Yes, ma'am.
So
I'm
they're
able to hear.
asking.
Yeah.
So they're asking whether they have to continue with MCA or they go ahead with any specialization course.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. MCA is an advantage for them, but if they also do after BCA some specializations in a particular domain of their choice, then also they'll get into those jobs. Once they get into the job, nobody will come and look after what are their entry level courses that they have done. It all based on how they learn and then how do they do the value add. So for the first job, definitely these things will matter, but subsequent to that, it doesn't matter. And even as the technology goes and improves, we all are expected, even once we are expected to continually learn things. We are expected to learn on the job, and also we are expected to spend some time even after joining the industry to add value add to ourselves. A lot of companies also clarify this, including companies like Intel and Dell. We say that employee wants his employability. Basically, what are skills that are needed for us to continue to be employable is on the ownership of the employee, not the employers. Companies doesn't try to help you on all those. So we need to equip ourselves with the needed skills so that we can constantly contribute.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else who would like to ask any question?
All clear, ma'am.
By the way, I would like to thank all of you to be a very interactive audience and keeping it live, keeping it interactive, because I don't enjoy giving a monologue. And thanks for all the valid and very, very useful questions. And thank you all. I wish you all the best.
Okay, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank our today's speaker for the session, Tandava V. Krishna Popuri sir, for sparing his valuable time in sharing his knowledge with us. I also thank Vishnu Prasad sir, State Head ICT Academy, who has helped us in organizing this virtual Power Seminar event. And also thanks to all the wonderful and patient audience. So we will continue with tomorrow's session at the same time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Thanks, ma'am. I'm dropping off. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.